Imagine this. You blink, and suddenly, you're standing in the middle of a medieval village. The year? Let's say 1325. The air is thick with smoke, livestock wander freely, and the streets, if you can call them that, are a chaotic mix of mud, refuse, and people shouting in dialects you don't quite understand. Welcome to the Middle Ages. You might think you'd adapt. After all, you've seen the movies, maybe played a few games. How bad can it be? But the truth is, you wouldn't last 24 hours. Not because you're weak or unfit, but because the medieval world is a brutal, unfamiliar place where everything, and I mean everything, is stacked against the modern human. Let's begin with your arrival. You're dropped, fully clothed in your sneakers, jeans, and hoodie, and you've immediately made a mistake. Those clothes? They're a problem. Fabric is expensive in the 14th century. Bright colors, especially synthetic ones, are reserved for the wealthy. Your outfit screams outsider. And outsiders in small medieval communities aren't treated with curiosity. They're met with suspicion, or worse. You're either a thief, a madman, or a spy. The best case scenario? They assume you're touched by God and keep their distance. Worst case? You're accused of witchcraft. And then, the smell hits you. It's not just body odor, though personal hygiene is medieval, to put it gently. It's the streets. Waste of all kinds is dumped outside. Chamber pots are emptied into the alleys. There are no sewage systems, no garbage trucks, no clean water taps. You quickly realize that holding your breath won't cut it. Thirsty? Don't drink from the river. It's downstream from a dozen households dumping waste into it. Wells are safer, but only if the town has one that isn't contaminated. Medieval people didn't always understand waterborne illness, but they knew some wells made you sick. Without this knowledge, you might take a sip and seal your fate before lunch. And let's talk about food. You walk into a market, hoping to find something edible. The bread is coarse, made with rye or barley, and might contain a sprinkle of crushed beans, sawdust, or even ergot, a mold that can cause hallucinations or death. Fruits and vegetables are rare for common folk. Salted pork, hard cheese, and pottage, a kind of stew, are more common. You reach for something unfamiliar, eat it, and spend the rest of your 24 hours in gastrointestinal distress. Still standing? Good. But your immune system is in for the fight of its life. The medieval world is a microbial war zone. You've had vaccines, antibiotics, clean hands. The locals haven't. Smallpox, typhoid, dysentery, tuberculosis all roam freely. Even a small cut could lead to an infection that kills you. And don't expect a doctor to help. Medicine is based on humors and astrology. You might be prescribed leeches or a bleeding session to balance your energy. Sanitation is non-existent. Surgery is done with tools you'd expect in a torture chamber and without anesthesia. And yet, this is just the beginning. You haven't faced the church, the laws, or the social hierarchy. You don't understand the customs. You don't know who can speak first, when to bow, or how to pay taxes, and not knowing could get you imprisoned or worse. Your first 24 hours are a gauntlet of disease, discomfort, and danger. And the sun hasn't even gone down yet. In the next part, we'll explore what happens when night falls and why the medieval world becomes even more terrifying after dark. If you've survived your first daylight hours in the Middle Ages, dodging disease, dirty water, and suspicious locals, you might think you've earned a rest. But in the medieval world, night isn't for sleeping. It's when everything truly dangerous begins. The sun sets early, around 4 or 5 p.m. in winter. The moment darkness creeps in, the world shifts. Without electricity, the streets fall into deep shadow. There are no street lamps, no porch lights, only flickering torches or the dim orange glow from hearths inside homes. You, the outsider, don't have a home. If you're lucky, you might find shelter in a crowded inn, one room, many strangers, snoring side by side on a wooden floor or shared straw mattress. But that assumes the innkeeper lets you in, which is doubtful. Remember, you still look strange, smell clean, and ask too many questions. Suspicion hasn't left you yet, and you don't want to be on the street at night. Cities, if you're in one, impose curfews after dark. You need permission to be outside, and you don't have it. Guards patrol for thieves, drunks, and loiterers. If you're caught walking alone with no papers or explanation, you're going to jail, or worse, accused of being a vagrant or spy. Even in villages, the darkness is dangerous. Wild animals roam close, wolves, foxes, and massive dogs. Fires are a constant threat. A single overturned candle can destroy an entire neighborhood of wooden, thatched homes. That's why people bank their hearths early and avoid open flame. Assuming you've found shelter, a barn, a cellar, a sympathetic widow's goat shed, sleep won't come easy. The straw mattress is crawling with lice and fleas. The air is cold. Your blanket is thin. There's no insulation in these homes, cold drafts seep in through every wooden crack. The smells of animals, people, and mold all blend into one stinging, sour atmosphere. And don't expect quiet. People rise often in the night. They stoke fires, tend animals, check on food, relieve themselves in corners or chamber pots. Others simply wake during the watching hour, a common practice where people slept in 2 shifts, waking for a couple hours around midnight. They might pray, chat, mend clothes, or tend to cooking, and they're not quiet about it. If you're with strangers, there's another problem: bed sharing. It's completely normal here. Inns, households, even monasteries, people sleep multiple to a bed. You might be next to a snorer, a kicker, or someone with a respiratory infection. In a world without personal space, you're now one blanket away from the Black Death. Speaking of which, you've likely been exposed to more diseases by nightfall than you've encountered in years. Your immune system is screaming. That scratch you got earlier? It's red and swelling. You don't know it yet, but sepsis has begun. Let's say, somehow, you manage a few hours of restless, cold, smelly, paranoid sleep. You survive the darkness. You wake up sore, bitten, sick, and possibly feverish. You think you're in the clear. You're not. Now, it's morning and time to face the medieval justice system, the church, and the village authorities who want to know why a strange, unshaven person with odd clothing is still hanging around. You thought the night was rough? Wait until you're accused of breaking a law you didn't even know existed. In Part 3, you'll find out why ignorance of medieval customs is more dangerous than you ever imagined. It's dawn in the Middle Ages. You've survived the night, cold, confused, and likely bruised, but daylight brings a whole new threat: the people in charge. And make no mistake, this isn't a democracy. You've entered a world where laws are local, brutal, and often arbitrary. Where punishment is public, justice is swift, and your ignorance of custom isn't just a social faux pas. It could be a death sentence. Let's start with something simple. You didn't attend morning Massachusetts. Everyone else did. Not because they were feeling especially devout, but because the church controls everything: land, taxes, morals, and behavior. Failing to show up makes you instantly suspicious. Are you a heretic? A foreigner? A Jew in disguise? An agent of the devil? You don't have answers. You have no local accent. You don't know the Lord's Prayer in Latin. And you asked, out loud, if they have soap. That idea. So now, the local priest, who is also the literate authority in town, is watching you closely. And he's not the only one. The village reeve, a kind of medieval sheriff, wants to know your business. Do you work for someone? Where's your lord's seal? How do you explain being here, wearing strange clothes, and having no kin, no papers, and no explanation for your odd behavior? You're arrested. No one tells you exactly why. Maybe they think you're a thief. Maybe a spy. Maybe just a lunatic. Doesn't matter. You're not one of them. And in the 14th century, that's dangerous. Now you're in the stocks, set in the village square with your ankles and wrists locked in wooden beams. You're surrounded by jeering children and curious adults. Someone throws spoiled food at you. Someone else accuses you of witchcraft because you talked to a goat. And you're sunburnt, dehydrated, and possibly hallucinating from the contaminated food you ate yesterday. If you're lucky, this ends with humiliation. If you're not, it gets worse. In many areas, trial by ordeal is still practiced. You're suspected of lying? Then you're tested. A popular method: trial by water. You're bound and thrown into a pond. If you float, you're guilty, because water, pure and holy, rejected you. If you sink, you're innocent, but possibly dead. Another possibility? Trial by fire. You're ordered to carry a red-hot iron for a few paces. Your hand is then wrapped for 3 days. If it heals clean, you're innocent. If it festers, which, let's be real, it will, you're guilty. And punishment follows. Speaking of which, medieval punishment is not designed to rehabilitate. It's designed to scare, shame, or eliminate you. For theft, hand amputation. For heresy, public burning. For deception, branding. You get the idea. You plead with the priest, trying to explain. But you don't speak Middle English, let alone Latin or Norman French. Your words sound strange, your gestures odd. They don't understand you, and now they think you're possessed. The crowd stares. The reeve whispers to the priest. The priest nods. They call for the dunking stool. And just like that, you're now on trial for being unnatural. Not because you did anything wrong, but because you didn't know how to do anything right by their rules. You haven't eaten. You're sick. You're filthy. Your feet are covered in sores. You're shaking from stress and dehydration. It's not even midday yet. And soon, you'll face something even worse, your first medieval medical treatment. In part 4, you'll visit a healer and wish you hadn't. Let's imagine, by some miracle, the villagers don't drown you, burn you, or drive you out. Maybe someone took pity. Maybe the local priest decided you weren't a heretic, just sick. So they send you to someone who can help the healer. And that, unfortunately, is where your real suffering begins. Medicine in the 14th century is less about science and more about superstition, guesswork, and humors, not the funny kind. According to medieval theory, the body is controlled by 4 fluids: blood, phlegm, black bile, and yellow bile. If you're unwell, they believe your humors are unbalanced. The cure? Not rest. Not fluids. Not antibiotics. Bloodletting. You're laid on a bench, your sleeve rolled up. The barber surgeon, who might also be the town's dentist and bathhouse operator, pulls out a sharp blade or leech jar. You try to resist, but the villagers hold you down. You're not just bleeding, you're bleeding into a wooden bowl engraved with zodiac signs to guide the treatment. And you're lucky if it's just blood. You complain of nausea? Maybe the food you ate wasn't clean? The healer nods wisely and gives you a concoction, a warm drink made from vinegar, crushed mint, and possibly ground oyster shells. If you're in a noble household, maybe they throw in some saffron, if only to show off. It doesn't help. Your stomach cramps. Your vision blurs. You're dehydrated. But now your host thinks you're suffering from an imbalance of cold and wet, so it's time for a correction. That means mustard poultices on your chest, a steaming bowl of onions at your feet, and maybe being made to inhale the smoke of burning rosemary while someone chants a prayer. Got a fever? Time to rub you with butter, salt, and crushed beetles. Suffering from fatigue? They'll hang a wolf's tooth around your neck or insist you sleep with a dead mole sewn into a leather pouch under your pillow. And it's not just healers, religion and medicine are fused together. Illness isn't just physical, it's spiritual. You're told to confess your sins. Maybe you brought this on yourself. Have you honored the saints? Have you angered God? Maybe the devil is working through you. Now, the local priest visits, not with help, but with holy water and exorcism rites. You're forced to fast, pray, and endure chants. A candle is lit at your bedside to burn away the sickness and possibly your sanity. Meanwhile, your body continues to weaken. That scratch on your leg? The one from yesterday? It's hot to the touch. Swollen. Pus-filled. That's an infection. But there's no antibiotic. No alcohol to clean the wound. No clean bandage. Just a strip of linen dipped in pig fat and tied tightly. It gets worse. If the infection spreads, you might be taken to the local monastery infirmary. You'll find a dark room with dozens of sick people groaning, coughing, dying. No masks, no hand washing. Just straw beds and stained sheets. You're placed near the door so they can carry you out quickly if, or when, you die. You're not alone. People die from infected splinters, toothaches, and fevers. Childbirth is a gamble. Surgery is a scream. Painkillers? Try alcohol or poppy syrup, if you're lucky. The truth is, you were never supposed to survive here. Your immune system is too clean. Your mind is too modern. Your expectations too high. And yet, you're still alive barely as the sun begins to set again. In part 5, we'll bring the final hour of your medieval nightmare to a close and show you why getting out might be the only thing that saves you. The sun is setting again. You've survived almost 24 hours in the Middle Ages, just barely. You're sick, hungry, sleep-deprived, possibly infected, and utterly alone. The village still doesn't trust you, and now even your body is beginning to betray you. But this final hour? It's the one that breaks you. As dusk settles, the familiar discomfort of true medieval night returns. There's no electric light, just darkness, deep, total, and absolute. You have no candle. The stars are hidden by smoke. And unless you've found refuge, you're outside again, wrapped in cold air and fear. You find a place to sit, maybe by a barn wall or under a tree near the village edge. But you're not safe. Not here. The darkness changes things. It emboldens thieves. You hear footsteps, someone walking nearby, then stopping. In a society where accusation equals guilt, you're a perfect scapegoat. No one would miss you. No one would ask questions. You move quietly. But so does danger. There's no help. No constable to call. No flashlight to shine. Just you, hiding like an animal, praying no one notices you, or worse, decides to do something about you. You realize then, you don't belong here. Not just culturally, not physically, not spiritually. This world isn't built for you. You don't understand its loss. You can't eat its food. Its water poisons you, its medicine worsens you, and its people suspect you. You're not a time traveler. You're a walking contradiction in a society that fears what it cannot explain. You can't even communicate. Your language is foreign, your accent bizarre. Your gestures seem erratic. You try to explain, but everything about you only deepens their fear. You're not from another town, you're from another world. And that's exactly what would get you killed. Because in a society ruled by superstition, rumor, and fear, the greatest danger is standing out. And you've been standing out since the moment you arrived. The only reason you're still alive? Luck. That, or pity. And now, as midnight approaches and your body shivers in the cold, feverish and filthy, it finally hits you. This world is not romantic. It is not poetic. It is not made of ballads, chivalry, or courtly love. It is made of dirt, blood, pain, and survival. Sure, not every medieval life was constant misery. There were moments of joy, music, dancing, feasts. There was community, tradition, and meaning. But you've never been further from home, and this place knows it. If you could escape, you would. You'd run, barefoot, through fields, through rivers, through fire just to get back to clean water, antibiotics, electricity, and silence that doesn't threaten. And when the clock strikes that final moment, 24 hours after your arrival, you're not triumphant. You're not transformed. You're grateful. Grateful to return to the warmth of a shower, the hum of a fridge, the quiet buzz of your phone, the miracle of soap, vaccines, and soft pillows, the privilege of sleeping without fleas or fear. Because now you know, you wouldn't have lasted a day in the Middle Ages. Not for lack of strength, but because survival then wasn't about strength alone. It was about knowledge, conformity, and luck. And for a 21st century outsider, that's a losing game. Still think you could survive the Middle Ages? If this journey changed your mind or confirmed your fears, leave a comment below and tell us how long you think you'd last. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more stories from history's darker corners, and ring the bell so you never miss a tale. Thanks for watching, and be glad you live now, not then.